I wanted to share with you 3 instances where I was racially profiled overseas. This is something that is painful. Nobody wants to be racially profiled, and nobody wants to be discriminated, but unfortunately it happens so often. All right, let's get started with the first place where I've been racially profiled in the past. And that place is, unfortunately, Vietnam. And this wasn't fun to deal with. So basically what happened was that I rented an apartment. It was in District 7 in Ho Chi Minh City. If you know that area, it's a very nice area. Lots of nice shopping malls. It's a very concentrated area with lots of foreign restaurants. There's a lot of good going on there, and I still miss living in District 7 in Ho Chi Minh City. I love my time there. But there was this one incident that really left me heartbroken, really left me disappointed, where I rented an apartment, and before moving in, I had this dog. It's still the same dog that's with me today. This dog has been with me for many years. And so we rented an apartment, and before you rent an apartment, if you have a pet, you typically ask, is this place pet friendly? Why? Because you don't want to have any problems. And so I went ahead and asked whether the place is pet friendly. He agreed, and we did the contract, signed it, we moved in. Great. Everything was good. We were happy. And then one day, came home, and it was a Sunday, and I was told by the owner that my dog was barking and the dog had to go. Supposedly, the manager complained because he was at home on a Sunday and he was bothered by my dog's bark. This is a difficult situation because, first of all, dogs do bark. So it's not like you can restrain a dog from barking. Yeah, you can put a muzzle on, that kind of stuff, but is it really realistic to put that on 24/7? You're restricting the dog's freedom. In the West, if you rent an apartment or a house and you're being granted access with your dog, then typically that's not the problem, right? That's not the problem. Like as long as you get the approval and it's in the contract, then this is it. The dog's part of the deal as much as you're part of the deal. They told me I had to get rid of the dog or I had to move out. So 2 options that don't go very well. I'm not going to get rid of my dog. I understand that they might not have understood how important the dog is to me. They might not have understood that, but it was not an option for me to get rid of a dog. In fact, there are many foreigners that lived in Vietnam that had no problem abandoning their dog as they left the country. I personally could not do that. Maybe I'm too loyal for that. I just couldn't do that. Like, to me, an animal is part of family as much as a kid is part of family, as much as your parents are part of family, your siblings, grandparents, uncles, they're all part of family. And the dog too, right? Pets are part of family. I'm from a Western country where this is the case. And this was disheartening because we had discussed this, and I really thought that they understood what having a dog in an apartment meant, but clearly they didn't. Perhaps I was the first tenant that they had, the first tenant with a dog. It's possible, I don't know. We didn't really have that discussion, but it ended up that they wanted us to move out because, again, I was not going to put my dog somewhere else for an incident like that. He probably didn't even bark the whole time, probably just barked a little bit, but they were bothered by it. And that was a big problem for all of us, for them and for us too. We don't want people to be bothered. But at the same time, there were people with dogs living in the same building. Probably not many, but there were some. They told me to move out, and I'm like, I didn't want to move out because I like living in the place. It's like you feel comfortable. You've already lived there for weeks, and you don't want to move out because, you spend so much time finding the place. You put your heart into it. You find a place you really like, great views and nice apartment, nice furnishings, and then they tell you to move out. This is not what you want to hear. So I just tried to make this work, but they didn't. We had to move out, but we wanted to get the deposit back because they wanted us to move out, and the dog was part of the deal. And then we were like, we want to get the deposit back, and they said, sure, no problem. We kind of had another discussion about moving out and not moving out, and we were like, we really want to stay. And then following thing happened, they brought the police to the apartment. Something I didn't expect them to do, but they brought the police and they sat down with us. It was just one guy, I think. One or two. I don't remember. It was almost 10 years ago, so a long time. Anyway, so they brought 1 or 2 people, and I heard the knock. Who the hell is that? I didn't expect anyone to pop up, and then peek through, and I saw, okay, it's the police. Damn it, what did we do wrong? It's like the first question, what did you do wrong? It's like, I didn't expect it. I haven't done anything wrong. I opened up the door and they just walked in. They didn't even ask if they can come in. They just walked in and just opened the door, walked in, and then they sat down, and the police guy, he yelled at us, okay? He yelled at us and he was like, well, the dog shouldn't be barking, this and that. And, they were speaking in Vietnamese. The police officer, if you can call him officer, he was speaking with my partner at the time, and he was explaining everything in Vietnamese. And he was yelling at her. He was saying, what happened? This is our... He pretty much told us that we have to leave. There was probably corruption involved, I'm pretty sure, as it is in certain emerging countries. That's just how it is. He told us to move out, and we still didn't want to move because we know they couldn't force us out because we had a contract anyway. Based on the contract, they couldn't move us out. And so we refused. We said, no, we want to stay. I actually, in my mind, I was already thinking, okay, we might have to move out. But the fact that they brought the police was just so out of line, in my opinion, because we just wanted to talk humanely about it. And they didn't do that. They didn't want that. They just used force. When you use force against someone, that person is more natural to be stubborn. And that's what happened to me back then. I was just more stubborn because of them using the police, trying to get us out this way, that I said, no, I'm not going now. So we actually agreed to move out, and they agreed to give us the deposit back. And then on the day we moved out, they did not give us the deposit back. And then we refused to leave, but they brought the security from the building. And then the husband and the wife came, husband, landlord, wife, landlady came, and they brought the security guard, and the husband was yelling really bad that all of us, that we have to leave. And we had already packed everything. We were already ready. And we even cleaned the apartment and everything, right? And we were waiting for the deposit, and we never got it back. And they said they would give us the deposit back on the day we moved out. That was the conclusion, right? That was the agreement that we had, which was also broken. So technically, every agreement that we had with them was broken. And so the contract wasn't worth anything. And then the following thing happened. I went ahead and I looked for advice. Okay, so we contacted a lawyer and saw what we can do. And the lawyer told us that this contract is not even valid. Why? Because it wasn't stamped by government authority. Great. And the contract was between a foreigner and a local person. The lawyer told me technically this contract is not valid because you have to go to a place to get it stamped, like legalized, And we didn't do that. Well, technically it was legalized by the broker, and we actually tried to solve it with the broker too. The broker got 1 month's commission, I believe. But the broker refused to help us in any way, shape, or form. They were completely out. They were like, well, we're not going to help you. Well, but this is what a broker is for. A broker is in place to solve issues between the parties that are part of the contract. This is what a broker is for. That's what you pay them. But the broker refused any sort of help. And then, like I said, went to the lawyer, and he said it was going to be $1,000 to get this to court and stuff like that. But then we're like, no, we do want to pay $1,000 because the deposit was I think the rent was maybe like $650 to $700, something like that. And we were like, we don't want to do that. And then we had the lawyer call her and kind of try to talk and, be sensible, be like, just... have a conversation and get this solved without the legal procedure. The landlady told the lawyer that she's not going to give it back. That was it. And then she just hung up. Then the following thing happened. We looked for the government office that would deal with such problems, and we went there. We first called, and then I went there, and then the following thing happened. The contract was under my name, and I'm obviously a foreigner and a local person in Vietnamese. And then they told me that they won't help us. They told us, we're not going to help you, because the contract is between a foreigner and the Vietnamese, and we don't handle such cases. Wow, that is being racially profiled. I'm not sure what the law said, that they had to help us probably, but they were like, we're not going to take on a case between a foreigner and a Vietnamese. I was like, wow, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, think about them doing this in America. We then said, there's nothing we can do. We can sue them. We can bring them to court, but there's just nothing going to happen. And should we spend $1,000? Do we really want to spend $1,000 to get this resolved? I'm like, probably not. It's not worth it. And then we just ended up letting it go slowly. We let it go. And it's one of the hardest things to do, to just let it go. Emotionally letting it go is hard. But that's what I ended up doing. Then the second time was also a time where I was shocked. So basically, I took a bus from Kuching, Malaysia, to Pontianak, Indonesia. Both these places are located on the island of Borneo, which is a beautiful place. I miss it. I love it. I still have friends there. Would love to go back one day. Beautiful place. And we ended up going on a trip to Pontianak, Indonesia. Great. Met a friend there who is still my friend today. I mean, good things happen there, right? I always love the people of the country. Of course, there are exception stuff in this, but generally, I love the people in the places I've been to. I've made so many friendships and people I'm still talking to after so much time of not seeing them, right? It's really cool. So I appreciate that. But we took the bus and we stopped at the border, the Malaysia-Indonesian border on the island of Borneo. When you take the bus from Kuching to Pontianak, if you've lived in the region, if you live in the region, you've taken the bus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, kind of look it up on the map maybe later on so you can get a picture. But took the bus, and how it works, border stop, you get off, they scan your banks, and they give you the visa, right? That's what it's all about. And in Indonesia at that time, you had to pay for the visa. I don't know how much it was. It was like $30 or so, I think, $30, something like that. We went in there and scanned the bags, and this is usually the first thing you do. and then you get the visa. And the person I was with at that time was Chinese, and I'm obviously a white guy, European, right? And so we went in there and they called us in, like into inspection room right away. And they yelled at us, I'm never going to forget the guy. I still remember what he looked like. And he yelled at me like, you come in here, questioning. Okay, great, let's go. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just coming to visit, I'm visiting. What's going on? So he called us in and he was like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And it's like, you're a white European. What are you doing in our country? Wow. This is like being racially profiled. It doesn't get any clearer than this. This is a textbook definition of being racially profiled. And I'm a white European. I'm being racially profiled. So this has nothing to do with race. Okay, this can happen to any person of any color, probably in any country. I was just shocked at the tone in which he communicated his concerns. He also referred to the person I was with as a Chinese Malaysian. He articulated it like this, which was very rude, very just inappropriate. It was inappropriate. And they questioned us for more than half an hour. I think it was like 30, 45 minutes, almost an hour they questioned us. And each minute felt like an hour. It was painful. They took our passports, they ran some checks and asked a lot of questions. What are we doing here? And then they sat us down and they ran the passport somewhere. They talked internally. So this was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life, by far. After that, we were just worried, that they're going to get us in trouble. We haven't done anything wrong, If they don't want people of certain race, ethnicity to go to their country, just let us know before. Just put a sign there, we're going to go right back. We'll get a taxi and go right back. Because nobody wants to go for this. Nobody deserves this. No matter where you're from, no matter what your skin color, no matter what your race, your religion, nobody should get treated like this, ever. In this age, ever. Like, we should not be blamed for the things our ancestors did, because what can we do about it? This is not our fault. Like, I cannot choose what my skin color is. I was born like this. So you want to blame me for being born like this? I mean, this is insane. This made me really unhappy, and I actually thought, what, even if they grant us admission, I just want to go back because I felt so uncomfortable and it was just so wrong. But then my partner said, don't worry about it. This is how they look at it. And then she told me that they killed a lot of Chinese in Indonesia and this and that. So we were both not happy. We were both like really worried and stressed out, and we felt discriminated, and it just left resentment. It left resentment. And we didn't seek this. We didn't want this. We didn't initiate this. We're just visiting. And then when they let us go, I actually raised my voice and told him, are you finally done? I told him that, and then he looked at me like this, like he wanted to fight. But at that time, I couldn't control my temper as much as I do now. This is one of the worst experiences that I've ever had that, I just hope that it never happens again. Another time where I was kind of shocked by some of the statements made was actually in Singapore. A couple of things happened there, but anyway, I just want to talk about one thing. So basically, I had a company and I was working with this firm there. Anyway, I don't want to make any precise statements about the firm. I don't want to disclose any confidential information, any private information. So I'm just going to say I worked with a company there, and I was kind of told that Singapore is not a good place for a foreigner to live in. But I was told it in such a way that it made it sound like I particularly was not wanted, or because of where I come from, be it European, be whatever, I was not wanted. Like, because I said, I want to open this company, and we then used the services, this and that, and we ended up doing different business tasks with them. And I then expressed my interest in living in Singapore. And that's then when he came out and made the statement that, well, it's better for foreigners not to live here. Like, this kind of statement throws you off, and it's definitely a racial comment that was upsetting, because for the simple reason that you don't expect that, I was interested. I never lived in Singapore, was never a resident of Singapore. It was like just a weird experience, to hear that kind of statement where you're like, whoa, this is weird to hear from a person that you're working with, There was resentment again from his side, where maybe there are too many foreigners in Singapore. Maybe they don't want anymore, for whatever reason, It was concerning, and it just didn't feel like I'm wanted, No matter what your skin color is, no matter what your ethnicity, race, whatever, it's something that's upsetting, and it leaves like a bad feeling in your gut, It doesn't feel right. Where you're like, Jesus, did I expect this? It's like you're just trying to have a conversation. Yet I'm hearing these remarks. He said, oh, it's better when you live in your country. And then he made a comment about the weather, which I agree with, that Singapore is very sticky, very humid. It's just very constant climate, not any change at all. And he made a comment saying, well, it's much better when you live in your country. And I kind of resonated with that more than the other comments he made. When he started commenting about the weather stuff, it did make sense. So I'm asking myself whether he really meant it in a really bad way, or if he meant it a little bit and then he kind of looked for a way out. I don't know exactly, because he saw the frustration or the disappointment in my face. It could have been a mixture of both, right? So I'm not exactly sure. That's another thing where I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't live there, if there's resentment. So here we go, right? This is case number 3. Now, have you ever been discriminated against in a certain country? Have you had any such experiences yourself? I would love to hear your opinion. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.